cannot not speak about Dante. He gave me so much, just emotionally. It is difficult to talk about, but I think I owe it to him because this was a dog that didn't do anything but want love. And I think by doing these things, by writing about him, by talking about him, it is difficult, but I think it's necessary. And it's yet another way I see myself as repaying the love that he gave me.
Hello, I'm Mitchell Jordan, and you're listening to Love is a Doxy. The voice you just heard is Jarrel DeMattis. I first came across Jarrel when I found an article he'd written for a newspaper in Trinidad and Tobago called The Life My Dog Gave Me. The dog in question is a very special black and brown dachshund, Dante, who's the subject of this episode. You'll hear more from Jarrel, along with his partner William, about why Dante changed both their lives at a particularly challenging time. You might need a tissue or two for this one, but there's also plenty of happy moments as well. This story begins in 2020, the year of lockdowns worldwide. At a time when loneliness crippled so many, pet ownership reached an all-time high as we looked closer to home for company. It was also last year that William's mother, Blanche, fell ill and was taken to hospital for an extended period of time. William stepped in to look after Dante, the dachshund she'd had for the past 10 years. In fact, it was a dog that he was responsible for bringing into her life as a gift following the death of her previous dachshund, Frida. Let's hear William describe the moment his mother and Dante first met.
I walked in, he was a puppy. I had him in a towel and I said, I have something for you. And she immediately melted, She started to smile and said, oh my gosh, look at the little boy. And then she said, why did you go and do this? But you could sense that, her demeanor changed. She was smiling. She immediately, went into maternal mode and started to put things in place to care for him.
During their decade together, Blanche and Dante became synonymous with one another. So when she was sick, friends and acquaintances were equally concerned about the pair.
She had a lady that used to come and help her clean, and the lady knew about the dog. And everybody, once they asked, how are you dealing with your mom? And the second question will, how is Dante?
When William's mother tragically passed away, a decision had to be made. What would happen to Dante? Where would he go? At first, William considered rehoming him with someone else, but when Dante developed a skin condition which the vet put down to stress, he made a decision.
What I initially said I would do is I will bring him where I live and I will treat him, get his coat back up to where it was, and then see. I didn't really have a plan. My initial plan was that if this doesn't work out, I will then try to see if somebody could adopt him.
During the course of Dante's recovery, William started to develop a bond.
The routines were established fairly quickly, and he seemed to be a lot more comfortable and happy. When you bathe him, he tended to grip onto you, and then I found the more you bathe him, the more he would sort of come to you. As he began to get better, I guess I began to get more attached.
Would it be possible that Dante could live with William and Jarrel? There were just two things that concerned him. Firstly, the couple lived in a small apartment. Secondly, William knew Jarrel and dogs weren't exactly a match.
Jarrell was never a dog person. He was a cat person. And we always talk about getting a cat. He wasn't really in favor of getting this dog.
Previously, Jarrel had only had one brief encounter with Dante, and the pair didn't quite hit it off.
My partner would take me sometimes to clean around the house. And one time, just one time, my partner took me to the back of the house where Dante was, and I saw him. Partner was actually bathing Dante in the sink, and I saw Dante, and I didn't go near him or anything. I just stood from a distance and I looked at him in the sink getting bathed, and I could have sworn he growled at me, and which just made me keep my distance even more. So it was a strange interaction. I was concerned about bringing a dog where we lived because it was a small space, and I was so conscious about neighbors being disturbed by barking or just like dog maintenance. I know dogs require care and attention, and because I felt I was always inside my head, I wasn't, and because I know my partner was working, I wasn't sure we could be able to provide that care.
But William's mind was now made up. He knew what had to be done.
As we say in Trinidad, I caught a VAPS. It means that I got up and just simply made a very quick decision that I am going to bring this dog up here. I had an online meeting at 11 and I jumped in my car, drove all the way down to my mom's house, got the dog, got some food, got his bowls, got a leash for him and everything that I would possibly need, and then just drove back up. And when I came back up, Jarrell was in an online meeting himself. I remember I just walked past him with the dog and he just sort of looked at me. I went and I gave him a bath and then I took him back outside and Jarrell was just very curiously just looking on. The first morning when I opened the door and let him in, Gerald was fascinated with how the dog's tail was wagging, and he tends to jump on you. And as time went on, Gerald then very quickly became attached to him. And the dog, because I work, Gerald was spending more time with the dog. I realized it was happening very surreptitiously, that he was getting more attached to the dog than I was. And we would go to the supermarket and he would say that, well, we need to get these biscuits for him and we need to get special food for him, and I was like, okay. And then he went to the vet and he bought him a bed and he bought him a special leash and a harness and all sorts of things, and I was like, okay, this is quite interesting. That I wasn't quite sure how it would work out. I thought it would have been an imposition, but it actually was quite the opposite.
I don't know about you, but I'm not surprised at all to hear that. Anyone who's ever encountered a dachshund knows that these dogs have a way of stealing your heart in seconds. And with lockdowns continuing, Jarrell remained working from home with only Dante for company. Company that he was becoming increasingly fond of.
William was still working, and it would leave just the two of us, and I've always been comfortable by myself. When we both lived in Trinidad before I left for the US to study, I'd gotten used to that schedule. So my partner would go out to work and I'd be home doing my writing. And it was the same thing when Dante arrived, but I gradually would allow him to sit on the couch and we would just be in the same space, and that was new for me, and I did get distracted sometimes, but Dante was just another person which I immediately grew fond of, and it became my new routine. So when my partner would leave, Dante would always be here and he would walk around, his paws would tap on the floor, and it would distract me, but I just that face, it was a welcome distraction.
William also noticed some changes in his partner as a result.
It is true that he is very introvert and not very communicative. He's not okay. He's introvert. Full stop. I did not see him change with regards to interacting with other people, but he certainly demonstrated love of this dog very, very quickly, which was quite interesting to see. That I've never seen him interact with a dog before. I've never seen him look at dogs, on television shows or anything. I've never seen him, he's never talked about dogs before. And all of a sudden, he was just completely wrapped up in this dog. And it was quite surprising to see. And it happened very, very quickly.
The next part of this story is the hardest to tell, even for me, who has never met Jarrel or William, and who will never get a chance to meet Dante. After caring for their dachshund for 10 months, the unthinkable happened when Dante was hit by a car and died just days short of the 1-year anniversary of Blanche's death.
The hard thing to deal with was Jarrell's. He was bawling, literally, and the sound that he was making, I've never heard that sound before. It was really a sort of a desperate cry of grief and shock and desperation. If I can't really describe it. It was a sound that I've never heard before and I will never forget. And then processing all of that, to then realizing, this is 5 days short because we were sort of planning a 1 year sort of mass for my mother. And the coincidence was just, it was surreal. And it was like the last thing that I had for my mother, and I just lost it. There were multiple points of grief that surrounded that particular incident.
Dante was just so endearing and so loving. Something about Dante, he just he just brought out just he just brought out everything inside my head. It just feels like a part of me is gone. I told my partner that I felt that my joy and my happiness left when I lost Dante. And he told me that Dante was that joy. And the happiness I thought I lost was actually my giving it to Dante. So the joy and happiness I thought Dante was giving me was actually the joy and happiness I was giving him. What Dante was giving me was a reflection of it. But I'm not sure. I think Dante gave me something, the joy, and losing him was so difficult because I don't know where to find that. I don't know where to find that joy. And that's as much as I can say about describing the loss. It just feels like something is missing.
I couldn't help but ask William whether he believes that, in some way, his mother and Dante might now be together.
It's a nice thought. All my family members say it. It's curious that Dante actually sort of introduced Jarrell to my family in a more profound way because they saw how he was interacting with a dog that my mother loved, and therefore, they saw that as something that is endearing to them, that he could care for a pet that my mother loved so much with even more attention that my mother probably would have given him. My family always says that he had a second life here with us, and that life was a very full one. We have all these beautiful memories of him, and I have beautiful memories of my mother and all the wisdom over the years that she has given me. The way I approach the end of a life is the memory and the lessons that you learn from the individual. And I think that those memories that I got from my mother over my 50 years and the brief period of time that I have with Dante would be shared memories, if you like. And that is how I would see them being together, in inverted commas.
And even if Dante was the dog that changed his life, Jarrell knows that one day, when the time is right, he'll be ready to welcome another one.
Definitely, I'll be open to caring for another dachshund. I think they're just a charming breed of dog. Their bodies, their ears, those legs, the way they reach for things, the the way they hope and the way they believe that they can reach for something. That was such an endearing trait to witness. It really does make me feel like I can care for another dachshund again.